Okay, Michael, let's start off with Tuesday's game. In terms of that first half performance, you must have been delighted, because I think most people would think that was the best football they've seen from Shrewsbury this season. So what do you put it down to?
Just progression, I would imagine. I think speaking after the game on Saturday, obviously there was a disappointment in the result. And probably the manner, obviously the way we give the goal away against Cambridge, but for 2/3 of the pitch and the way we build and the way we got into the final third was good. We just lacked real quality in that final third on Saturday. So I think there was just progression from Saturday taken into the game Tuesday. The very little that we did in training on Monday was all about the final third stuff, trying to have a little bit of an extra edge. And I think we got that on Tuesday night. Clearly, we didn't punish Reading half as much as we should have. I think it was 54 touches in the opposition's box on Tuesday night and scored 1 goal. So, that ratio has to get better. And I'm sure it will get better if we continue to sort of get up to those type of numbers. So, yeah, delighted. And to be fair, a few people have said that to me about the first half, but I was, up until the third goal, I was really happy with the second half as well. I mean, I thought we started the second half really well. We got back into the game, give a poor goal away in terms of the second, and I still think we were chasing. It was just once that third goal went in, that's when the game becomes stretched, become a little bit of a game of basketball. But I do think if we possibly would have got the second, I thought we would have, run away comfortable winners.
Did it surprise you how well you played? How quickly they've taken it on board?
I think if you're sort of asking me now as a direct question over a 2-week period and 4 games, yes. But I'd definitely seen signs in the Cambridge game to suggest that we could do that. Certainly the Wycombe game in the first half as well, I thought we were very, very good. I thought Verdane played his part in that in the first early part. So we've missed that a little bit because it allowed Lloydie and John to be on the pitch as well, but not be the sort of main sort of target, and they could feed off him. So there's things that have gone against us. But yeah, I think when you think back, I'm sitting here now, is it 2 weeks in from the first day of being in the club? I think it is. For us to get to where we were, to where we are now, all right, we haven't won that game, and everybody wants to win games of football. Everyone wants 3 points. That's what we're all in it for. But ultimately, sometimes there are periods in your career and at a club where actually the performance has to be the focus, and then initially after the performance, the result will follow.
Yeah. People will say with relegation virtually guaranteed and then soon confirmed, hopefully not just yet. We'll talk about the youngsters, about the likes of Callum Stewart. Just what's your thinking about that? Clearly, you want to win games. It's not always that easy just to throw somebody in, is it?
No, it's not, and it's one of them where I've got to give everyone an opportunity at some point to stake a claim for, going forward, because ultimately there's not only me watching them, there's you guys watching them, there's obviously the board of directors watching them, the fans are watching them. Callum and the likes will get opportunities between now and the end of the season. It's just picking the right moment. The likes of sort of Lloydie and John, as an example, who are in those positions. They've worked the socks off, without much reward, and I want to sort of pay them for the efforts that they're putting in. But I think we've seen in the little 7-8 minutes of cameo that Callum had on Tuesday that he's ready in terms of he's chomping at the bit for his opportunity. I think the physicality I've got to get right. So the different types of teams that I think he would suit him a little bit better. And then when I do that and we see that, then hopefully you'll see a little bit more of him.
Is that part of his progress as somebody stepping up into professional football? The physical side, is that something he'll need to work on moving forwards?
I think he will. I think his argument and rightly so, would be that he's played at Leamington in men's football and and sort of had experience of that and dealt with that. There are big jumps when you go through the sort of different steps into the football league. And listen, it's not something that I'm not used to. I've had the likes of Callum and similar players over many, many years, and it's just picking the right moments to integrate them and make sure that they can sort of flourish in that environment.
Is that the way you think Shrewsbury need to go as well? Maybe with younger players that can be developed. I mean, I know that's one of your areas that you really relish.
Yeah, I think it is, but it is a balance. You can't just go massively young. A club that do really, really well and have done really well at our level over the years has been Peterborough. They've been fantastic in terms of their return on investment. Obviously they've had their sort of struggle this year. And I think Darren admitted it, and Dara as well, and even Barry, to the extent that they probably went too young and bought a lot of young players. Now that's going to benefit them in the next 2 or 3 seasons. But it got close at times this year where they were, probably at an end of the table that they've not been used to for a long, long, long time. So I think we just got to get the balance right. I think there's an opportunity with what's going to probably happen and going to come, the inevitable. There's an opportunity to get a real good blend and mix of really young, talented players, but at the same time, making sure that we've got experienced players that can cope and deal with the level.
With relegation soon to be confirmed, people will say, well, let's start planning for next season. Now, I know that's probably already started anyway, but from your point of view, have you held discussions with the club in terms of, if you were to say, what you would need, or how is that progressing?
Yeah, I think it's one of them where when you're in a role, rightly or wrongly, you start talking about next season and thinking about planning, even though my contract doesn't suggest that that's the case. It's just it's what you do naturally. You just start planning and thinking, right, okay, if we got him, he could do this, and I could change this. So them type of conversations quite openly I've been having with Mick and staff on a daily basis anyway. Now, whether that happens or not, obviously, is yet to be seen. But I think we're due to sit down next week. I think it's Tuesday, to discuss, obviously, what potentially could happen next season. And it's something that hopefully, will be a positive discussion.
Have you enjoyed it here so far, in order for you to see the vision that the club has, but you'd like to be here? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, listen, when I first come in, the first interview, it had been a while, and I think as an individual, you've got to, find out if that fire's still burning, that passion. And what I have found out is that, it's burning more than ever. I love being on the grass. That's what I do best. But I've enjoyed the other side of it as well. I've enjoyed trying to sort of build the team and shape the team in a different way. And, the feedback I've been getting from sort of players, staff and, fans, etc. has been positive.
It is a real positive, so fingers crossed. Just on your time at Lincoln, you had success there. Just tell us about what it was like, what the club's like.
No, listen, it's a fantastic club, really, really well run. Obviously, Chairman Clive, I've got a lot of time for. Obviously, Liam Scully, the chief exec, I had a really good relationship with him there. Jez George, the director of football. So they've got a good structure. The fan base is very good. Clearly, well supported. The training ground is actually very similar in a way. They've got a couple more pitches than we've got, but it's actually very similar in terms of the setup. But no, I enjoyed my time there. It was very similar in a way. There was a certain style and brand that was played before I got there. And to be fair, they had success in that style and brand. But they felt that they reached a ceiling doing that, and they wanted to sort of change and produce more players and sort of identify and recruit younger players with development in them. And I suppose that was the reason why they chose me at that time. And it was a lot of rebuilding, which will have to happen, at Shrewsbury as well. So at the time, it was perfect. Obviously, COVID hit. And, that was our sort of best season, the second season. We recruited really, really well. We had a lot of young players. We had 5 or 6 loan players, which, took us to a level that the club had not got to before. So, yeah, it was an enjoyable time. Like I say, I had 3 really good years there. I enjoyed my time there, and looking forward to seeing a few old faces.
Yeah, you had your own battles as well there. For those that don't know, tell us what happened.
Yeah, no, it was weird really, because obviously I got the highs and lows of another Wembley defeat, but let's not talk too much about that. That's 3 finals and 3 defeats. So if I am here next year and we're doing well, avoid the playoffs at all costs. No, I was in good company, I must add. Jurgen Klopp, I think, was in 5 finals before he won one. So he's done all right. But no, I think it was a situation where I had a bit of an issue. I could feel pain. Went to your GP as you do, spoke to the club doctor as you do, and after getting scanned and etc. Very, very quickly they were keen to do something about it because they didn't like what they seen. So, yeah, I got diagnosed with testicular cancer. I think was possibly in the April, maybe, or no, the May. The May, because it was. I had the operation just after the final, I think it was. And I think that, suppose, the one thing that I was very lucky. We got it quick and we got it dealt with. But the thing I probably did and I shouldn't have done was come back too quickly. I was supposed to have a couple of months off, at least 6 to 8 weeks off, and I'm a little bit, thingy to say it, but I think I literally was back in work about 10 days later. Now, obviously, I couldn't do much because I was sore and I couldn't walk properly, but I just needed to be around. I just wanted to be around it. So it was a difficult period. It was around about a time where we had a young child as well and stuff like that. So there was a lot of, as you imagine, a lot of emotions running high. But I think it was one of them where it does put a lot of things into perspective. And ironically and weirdly, and I don't know, I can't speak for other people in these situations, but I was all right, weirdly. And I get it now. In them type of situations, it's always, I'm guessing it's always worse for people who you either love, like, or around, rather than actually you. I found it quite easy to compartmentalise it and deal with it. Now, maybe because I was busy and was doing stuff, so I didn't really think about it too much. It was just well, it is what it is. I've got to deal with it. I've got to make sure that I deal with it. But at the end of the day, I've got a wife, kids that need me around. So yeah, it was good.
How has it changed you then in your approach to things? You of course went to Charlton and like a lot of people struggled because of the way Charlton is.
Yeah.
But how are you now, do you think?
I'm good. Honestly, I'm really good. And I think, I've had a lot of experiences, like poor experiences, bad experiences in my life, obviously, and we'll maybe go into that one day. But in terms of my injury, I had to retire at the age of 22, 23, all these type of things because of injuries. So I've had a lot of stuff that when stuff gets thrown at me, I've got a bit of experience and backup to be able to deal with it in a certain way. So so that was just another chapter for me, the Charlton one, where it wasn't great, it wasn't good, but again, like you just touched on, there was a lot that had happened previously. It was exactly the same. It was always going to turn and change, just because of the financial backing, support, and all that. It was always going to change. It's just unfortunately on my watch it didn't, and there were so many things that went against us in terms of injuries and 95th minute goals that happened on a regular basis. So that was difficult. But I think personally, sort of stepping away from football now, I'm able to look at things a little bit different. When I sort of leave the training ground or leave the stadium, I struggled at times to sort of park it and put it behind me, whereas now I find it a bit easier.
Do you think you're very different then in your approach to maybe when you started out in management, and because of all of these things that have happened?
Well, I'm probably a bit less angry. So that's one thing. I think there's a few staff up and down the country and players where there's a few fridges that might have got broken accidentally and a few flip charts that might have been broken and stuff from being a little bit over enthusiastic, and whereas now I can sort of pick my moments, and and this is why I'm not a ranter and raver on the sideline. I get caught up in the games at times, as we all do, but ultimately the players need clear, concise information, and I think for me the best way to do that is by looking assured and being assured.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, just in terms of your recovery, of course you have recovered, but do you still have to undergo tests?
Absolutely,
You have the 5-year kind of...
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So I'm 3 years into that now, and we had a little scare about 12 months ago. From a prostate point of view, they were sky high, but as it turned out, it was an infection. So I was lucky, but I'm getting to that age now where, as we are. So actually, I've got an assessment in a couple of weeks' time. To do all the bloods and go through it all and stuff. So I still get checked on a regular basis. They're great, like I say, touch wood, I've not been too bad so far.
Absolutely. Thanks ever so much.
Cheers.
Thanks.